members that thank you. I did not hear from any members that they wouldn't be able to join us, so I will go ahead and call this meeting to order, and the recording has started. It is 6:31. I'm going to call on each counselor in turn to make sure they can hear and be heard. Let's start with Lynn Griesmer.
Present.
And Counselor Lord.
Present.
And I am present as well. And rocking in right on time. Hello, Pat DeAngelis. Can you hear us and can we hear you?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone has been able to get a little bit of sunshine in today and is feeling well and excited about all of the things that we get to do today. So we are going to start off with public comment. And I'm just seeing if we have any members of the public. We do not currently have any members of the public with us, but this would be our time for public comment. All right, moving forward. We are going to continue our work on the African Heritage Reparation Assembly successor body charge today. And then we're going to talk through the just a preview of the agenda. We're going to talk through the liaisons, recommendations for liaisons. We will talk about our current committee vacancies, and then we're going to talk through the things that are coming up for us. I want to kind of preview those to give everybody a chance to know what homework is coming before I officially assign the homework. So we're going to talk through the rules of procedure and the town manager evaluation process. We'll go through some stuff around minutes, and then we will wrap up from there. All right, so with that, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right in to the African Heritage Reparation Assembly successor body charge. Remind me, Pat, were you with us last meeting when we talked about this? I didn't think so. Okay, so I'm just going to recap briefly. I mean, it's been a minute anyway, clearly, since I couldn't remember when we talked about this. So recapping what we're doing. As a reminder, the successor body charge was referred back to GOL after we discussed it last year. And we've been going through some of the proposed edits as well as the comments that we received from counselors about the draft. And where we got to yesterday, we talked through composition. We talked about much of our conversation, and I'll look to others to correct me if I'm wrong, but much of our conversation really centered on the work of this body being different in its first iteration than as it goes down the line. Pat, before I call on you, sorry, I'm going to just make sure Councilor Ette can hear and be heard if that's okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Pat.
I just wonder if you could make it just a tad bigger.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So a lot of our conversation centered on this committee's work is going to look different in its first, kind of that first phase, right, of determining what process it wants to use to distribute funds, et cetera, et cetera. Then it will, once it settles into kind of its cycle and its routine. So with that in mind, we shifted the membership. What was proposed from counselors was to have specific membership from certain committees, and we talked about shifting that to seeking members with experience. This was also informed by discussions about how hard it is to fill committees right now and not stretching members who are already agreeing to serve on another committee by asking them to pile this one on top. When this is going to be an intensive committee, this is not going to be a simple, easy one yet. We looked at the purpose statement and we made some edits based on the initial version as well as the proposed language here, just to reiterate. And then we got into the charge. So we started thinking about those phased areas within the charge. So starting off, the edits that were proposed back to us had looked at this in chunks, which was helpful I think was helpful as we started to go through it. So the first part was identifying the scope of reparations. So we talked through reviewing the report, this second bullet, we had a lot of conversation about in terms of bringing in the consultation, but not limiting eligibility for consultation to certain groups of people as defined in the report, but consulting regularly with descendants of enslaved Amherst residents of Amherst whose ancestors were enslaved, and other members of the Black community. That was kind of the big add here to make sure that we weren't limiting too much. And then to make recommendations to the town council on, sorry, I'm trying to get that comment away. Make recommendations to the town council on 3 to 5 priority areas for potential support from that fund. And that included considering feasibility and connection to harms being repaired, legality, which would be in consultation with the town attorney, and the final report, the AHRA final report funding priorities for support, which included youth programming, affordable housing, business grants, and entrepreneurial training. So if my recollection is correct, we stopped at the end of this page. So then the last piece that I'm looking at here is present those recommended priority areas and assessment of feasibility to the town council for consideration and action. So really making sure that it's clear that the council is ultimately the deciding body on this, and kind of trying to get it to function in a way that is similar to how CPA functions, where they will be making those recommendations for areas to pursue, and the council ultimately is the stamp of approval there. Any questions or corrections on my memory from our last discussion? Okay. Let's carry on. I'm noticing in the footnote here, this was something that the proposed edits had removed the word Black from the committee title, and we had decided to not agree with that suggestion. So I'm just updating the footnote. Okay. So we're on to funding. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay. So introductory sentence here regarding recommendations on the expenditures of the Reparation Stabilization Fund based upon town council priority areas, the A, B, R, C shall. Should this say based upon approved? Because this is, to me, this is misleading. But what they're talking about are the priority areas that they've just recommended. So should we say based upon the approved town council? I don't know how to make sure that's clear that what we're talking about is that first step.
The issue, sorry,
Go ahead, Lynn.
the issue is going to be whether, do we have a clear set of priorities already identified? And my recollection from the report is we have allusions to them, but we almost need the group to say, here are the priorities.
That's what they're doing here.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then they come to us and we have to agree with them.
We ultimately approve those. Yes.
Yes.
So then we're trying to figure out yeah, go ahead, Councilor Arte.
I wanted clarification of what is meant by we ultimately agree with them.
Approve.
So we approve whatever comes from. Okay.
Yeah. And I just am trying to make sure that it's clear what we're talking about when we say that. Based upon, I guess maybe it's fine. I might be overthinking that one. All right, stop with that. Okay. So this first one, review and consider the guidelines and process followed by the Community Preservation Act Committee. I think they were including this because they liked the model. It feels a bit out of place without more context as to why it's here in my mind. What do other people think?
CPAC, is there any other committee that is similar to CPAC? Because if there is, then, and Budget Coordinating Committee wouldn't be it. It kind of stands alone.
It does kind of stand alone.
Yeah.
The only one that I think would be anywhere close would be CDBG.
Yeah.
It has its own similar and different methods, so we could just say,
Well, what I'm thinking
Okay.
is to add then the CDBG, whatever, as possible guidelines. So that we're saying there are these two committees that distribute funds. And this is the processes that they use. I don't know. And I'm open to not having that there, so I'm just,
let me write it and see, is it block BLOCK or BLOC? BLOCK, right?
yeah.
Pat, you just said it very nicely, for,
For models of, I don't know. I don't remember what I said.
no, that's okay.
Sorry. Or guidance on developing funding distribution models, a funding distribution model.
Okay. So review and consider the guidelines and process followed by the community processes, then I think. I take this out. So review and consider the guidelines and processes followed by the Community Preservation Act Committee and the Community Development Block Grant Commit. For guidance on developing funding distribution models. Any issues with that? Okay. Adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding funding priority areas and eligibility for receiving allocations from the Reparations Stabilization Fund. This was a edit of what was previously in here from the committee. We previously had said, adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding eligibility for receiving allocations from the Reparations Stabilization Fund. Counselor Ette.
So for the second bullet, it has funds as in S. So is there one fund or several funds?
That's a good question. I think it's one fund, but it's monies within that fund. So it's like funds meaning dollars, fund meaning the account. I guess it depends on which one we're referring to.
And so
So-
bullet point 3, which we haven't gotten to yet, speaks of fund in the singular. Does that leave room for confusion?
Yeah, we can take that out.
I'm not saying taking it down. I'm wondering if we know, if we're speaking of different things, how to clarify. If you're speaking of the same thing, then yes, we should take it out.
I don't know that it changes the meaning, even if they are speaking of different things, because the funds are within the fund. Right? So like the dollars, the funds are within the Reparation Stabilization Fund. So it's either way, I think it's correct. But I think for consistency, I agree with you that it should align with the following paragraph.
So perhaps we could have, when we use funds, then it would be not capitalized. And when we are speaking of the fund, then we could have it as capitalized.
Yeah. I think you're right. Let me know if I missed it somewhere else though, please. Pat?
No, I was just thinking, and it's not, I don't think it's necessary, and then establish a process for monetary support. I don't know. That was, never mind. Go ignore me for the
Okay.
moment.
Okay, so establish, all right, so we're still on this piece here about written guidelines. I think in my mind, their addition changes the meaning of this sentence. But maybe I'm not fully understanding. Adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding, initially, this was just about eligibility. They added in about funding priority areas. I'm not clear why.
Yeah, I don't get why either.
Does anyone else have any insight on why to keep this in, or what the difference is, right? So
Let me see if I can.
adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding funding priority areas. So guidelines about the priority areas? Does anyone have any thoughts on what that means or
Yeah.
looks like? I don't either. I feel like,
I'm going back briefly, trying to look a little bit at Kathy and Mandy and different people's feedback.
yeah,
And Kathy has, she's saying this is what the CPAC includes, a clear set of written guidelines regarding what activities might be eligible. Does that help us? Adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding eligible activities.
what if we say, okay, that is really helpful. What if this said, adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding eligibility for receiving allocations from the Reparations Stabilization Fund for each priority area? Or considering approved priority areas? Because I could see it being I'm gonna write it before I forget it, sorry. So, because the reason why is I could see eligibility shifting for if one of the priority areas is housing versus another one being youth empowerment, the eligibility for those may look different, right? For example, this project must benefit youth directly would be an eligibility criteria for youth empowerment. So if we took this out and added that on the end, would that make sense? So it would read, adopt a clear set of written guidelines regarding eligibility for receiving allocations from the Reparation Stabilization, I think it should say Stabilization Fund, considering each approved priority area. How does that work? Okay. Next up, establish a process for receiving, I'm gonna just, because we did this before with our other list, I think we should do this now. Receiving proposals for funding support from the Reparations Stabilization Fund and making recommendations for the expenditures of funds from the Reparations Stabilization Fund. Proposals for funding support. So this is Lynn or Pat, one of you was just talking about this piece, right? Like the money's coming in and then money's coming out.
What should it say here? Receiving proposals for funding,
Well,
for monetary support from the rep, right? Because I don't,
yeah, it's confusing because I guess this is saying money, both of these are about money going out, but I read this almost as money is coming in.
we're-
So this goes back to the CPA thing where they're receiving, they want to create a process for how to get those requests, like what those requests should include. And then they want to make a process for recommending expenditure.
right.
Okay, receiving proposals from one. Well,
Why don't we just say support from the reparations
yeah,
fund?
I agree.
I mean,
love
I could
receiving-
imagine it was, you could even buy a piece of land to create, I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, black farming, school for farming and agricultural collective or something like that. So it might not always be directly money. Well, it is, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying.
What you're saying makes sense. We don't want to box it in. And how do folks feel about the ad that I just put in here about receiving and considering proposals for support?
Mhm.
Because it's not just
Yeah.
should send it via email.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on this bullet? Counselor Arte?
So what we're speaking of is receiving proposals from members of the community for support from the Reparation Stabilization Fund.
Yes,
Okay.
I was mixed up at first, but yes. This one has been covered elsewhere. So then solicit proposals from the community within town council. This is throwing me still, but I will get over it. Solicit proposals from the community within town council priority areas and ABRC guidelines for funding support from the Reparation Stabilization Fund. Okay, so this is basically saying you created the process, now do it. And then make recommendations to the town council for funding support from the Reparation Stabilization Fund based on budget guidelines established by the council. That doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
Pat, you're muted, but I think you have something really exciting to say.
Oh, yeah, it's real exciting. The, where is it? Based on budget, it has nothing to do with our budget guidelines. Because these would be proposals coming in from the community for funding from the stabilization fund that has funds. It doesn't, there's nothing, our budget guidelines have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, all that is included in our budget guidelines is continue to fund the
Up
Reparation
to, right,
Stabilization Fund. So would this be make recommendations to the town council for funding support from the Reparation Stabilization Fund? Period?
I would, yeah, unless somebody sees something that,
Yeah.
We could say, no, let's just leave it.
yeah, keep it simple.
I tried to keep it simple. We tried to keep it simple last time though.
I
Okay.
know.
Um,
And I have a big question that, and I apologize because I wasn't here, but I'll wait till the end. Sorry.
what was your big question, Pat?
No, let's go through this first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost there. Reports. The ABRC shall report annually to the town council on its progress on implementing a reparations program in Amherst. I liked what we had before. Let's see.
There shall remain an council on progress towards proposing ongoing out. Yeah, I like the bullets better than the,
Counselor Lord?
I agree. I like what was there before more.
Okay. I mean, we could just say including the following. If we really wanted to have it in there. No, just take it out. Okay. Okay. That is it, folks. Pat, what's your big question? And is it gonna make, oh, sorry, Counselor Ette.
So I did see that the bullet had something on feasibility. I thought we took out feasibility.
We have, let's see.
consider the feasibility and connection to Hamsmin. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think we moved it from somewhere else though. Yeah, there was a lot of talk of feasibility last time. Pat?
Did you go back to that feasibility thing just for
Yeah.
a second? It went too fast for me.
Sorry.
Okay. I guess what I was looking, I wish I hadn't, but I started looking at Kathy's stuff, and given the climate that we're in, will we get more pushback because it says Black reparations? Will we get more pushback? I think we will. And that makes me concerned because I want this to go through and I want it to repair the harms that have developed from our incredible past. But the government currently is denying things like Tulsa happened, and it's going back and sort of rewriting history again to be the white history that I originally learned. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to say this so that we have the fewest opportunities for legal challenges.
So
And I don't know what that is. And this is and I really want this to work.
Yeah.
So.
I talked about this with Michelle Miller and Dr. Shabazz, and we talked about it at the last meeting too. And the two areas that came up were, one, the word reparations is going to click in off the bat too. So it's not just the word Black that's going to trip a tripwire, right? The word reparations is even more likely to trip that tripwire. And the concern is that this committee charge is focusing just on Black reparations. We're not focusing on reparations for other groups that have been harmed throughout the course of US history. And so we don't also want to accidentally, create a body that's doing something it's not designed to do. So that was I'm absolutely still open to the discussion, and this group should have it, but I just wanted to contextualize what Dr. Shabazz and Michelle Miller said about keeping the word Black in the title, was that the trigger word here is going to be reparations, and that there isn't necessarily a way around that. And we also don't want to invite legal challenge by saying this is a broad reparations committee when it's really just focusing on one group that's been harmed. But again, open to discussion if any other folks in the group have thoughts on this.
Counselor Lord has her hand
Oh,
up.
I'm so sorry. I looked down for 1 second. Counselor Lord, thank you.
Okay. I know I spoke a lot last meeting about this, but I also wanted to add, specifically while the erasure is really strong. And I know that keeping the word Black in there is a buzzword, but I think we're making also another declarative statement that we're not going to erase and like bend to what the current federal government is trying to do to us, because we don't need to like erase difference and run away from it.
Right.
We need to lean into it, right? Because we're all, yeah. Anyway, let me not get on a
You're right.
soapbox. But that's
No, I
another
need you
piece.
on the
So
soapbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Lord. Does anyone want to go through this all one more time? Is there anything else we'd like to change? Do you want me to scroll through slowly? Yeah, okay. Nope. I'm
No,
seeing some
go
notes,
ahead,
some
go ahead.
notes. So I'm gonna scroll through slowly. Speak up if you would like to Feels like school committee used to put all their written comments on the board and scroll through them slowly, and I feel like that's my job now, and there's high pressure to do the right pace. That's the end. Any other edits folks would like to make? Otherwise, I would like to entertain a motion to recommend the Amherst Black Reparations Committee charge as amended to the town council. Is there a motion?
Oops, second.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I will make the motion, sorry. First, Anna. Second, Lynn, okay, and I'm gonna call the vote. Counselor Lord? I'll come back to you, Counselor Lord. Pat?
Aye.
Counselor Ette? Oh, I missed it, sorry, could you do it again?
Aye.
Thank you. Lynn?
Aye.
Counselor Lord?
Aye.
Thank you, and I am an aye as well. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us in favor, 0 opposed, 0 absent. Everybody, thank you and well done. I will approve the changes here as we made them and send this along to Athena. Lynn, when you know that when this will be on an agenda, will you be in communication with Dr. Shabazz and Michelle? They've been involved throughout the process. I will let them know that it was recommended tonight. But will you be in touch with them once it's on an agenda, or would you like me to be?
No, I will be. I'll be glad to do that. And the irony is it actually, we actually might have room on the agenda this weekend, this Monday.
You said this weekend and I had a shiver. of fear go
I'm
through
sorry,
my
this Monday.
That's
I'm
okay.
I'm just like the days are blurred lately. Thank you.
That resonates deeply. Okay. All right, everybody. So thank you so much. I want to especially, I mean, all of you have been so helpful in this process. And I know that for some of us, we've been looking at this for a very long time. So gratitudes all around with that. We're going to move on to the liaisons discussion. So I had emailed, I'm waiting on some information. Basically, I'm waiting on a report to be run on committee chairs, current committee chairs. I started going through, I have an old list from Lynn, and then I started going through the website. And then I got an email from Angela saying this was a report she could run for me. So I will be getting that list back. But I will, just to share what's going to happen in this process with you all. I'm going to pull up the list of committees that received liaisons last year. My God, I just had it and then I lost it. And basically what GOL is going to do is we are going to, I can, or someone can email all the committee chairs clarifying what the liaison role is and asking if they would like to be considered for a counselor liaison in the coming year. Counselors then will send their preference if they would like to be a liaison to a committee. And we basically do some matching that the council then votes on. But GOL's job in this is to just recommend the list of committees to for consideration for a liaison. So what I'm trying to find is the list of committees from last year. If my computer, can I tell you that Microsoft Search is the worst, single-handedly the worst tool on the planet. Okay, so this was what, you don't need to see how many emails I have unread right now. Okay. Stand by. All right, so this is what GOL recommended last year, who GOL recommended last year. Including who had a liaison in 2023. So I want to note there were 15 committees that had indicated they would like a liaison. We don't have 15 counselors, nor do we have 15 counselors who are able to serve as liaisons. So to be clear, this is not what we recommend is not a guaranteed list. And we want to also make sure we're very clear with the committees and with the counselors what the role of a liaison is in this. This is something that is defined by our rules of procedure. It's not something that GOL makes up. It's something that we could change based on those rules of procedure, but a liaison is seated in the audience. They are there to answer questions, but they do not provide their own opinion. And they essentially are there in the capacity of a member of the public, but they report back to the council during liaison reports and can answer questions if called on. Pat?
The Disability Access Advisory Committee is now the Commission for People with Disabilities.
Yes, that it will be updated. This is my memo from last year.
No, I know that, but I just
Yes,
want.
thank you for noting. If for some reason it's not updated when I send this list out, please call me on that, please. Lynn?
I kind of raised this at the council meeting, and I want to raise it again. And that is, are there committees we think should have liaisons? Not just whether whether or not there are committees that want liaisons, but that we think should have them.
I'm just pulling up the full list so that we can look at it. Because even though the chairs aren't in there, we can kind of look at the full list here.
And the other piece I just want to point out, and that is that it's already April.
I know.
This is only for 8 more months.
But we still have to do it. So these are based on the website. And Pat, I think this is where we need to change the name of this because I, again, just copied this from the website. Could you repeat? It's the Commission on.
Commission for People with Disabilities, I believe is
Can you
the
tell me how to
official
spell
title now. I can do a double check on that. I should know I'm the liaison, but I'll do a double check.
For people with disabilities.
Yes, for
Okay,
people.
on, not for, sorry. Okay. Some of these, again, this was just pulled, some of these already have council members, right? So elementary school building committee would not be one, finance committee would not be one, right? So obviously this is, again, this is just my baseline list.
It's
Not exempt.
It's Commission for Persons with Disability.
Right.
So it's a good thing I checked. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. With disability or disabilities?
Disabilities.
Okay.
Let me do a double, with disabilities.
So I will have this list with chair and chair email updated, and I will be reaching out to them. But yes, Lynn, to your point, if we want to have a discussion right now, I can note here and I can note what the committee is currently thinking. I believe the rules specify that we need to reach out to the committees.
Right. It's one of the things when we do some modest rule changes, I'd like us to consider whether we think there should be some. Can I also suggest, should we eliminate any off of this list?
Yeah, Recreation Committee. Is it on here?
Sorry, what do you mean by eliminate?
Are there, for instance, the Charter Commission is going to be coming to us with recommendations. I don't see us having a liaison to it.
So we could, I'm not going to necessarily erase it now because I don't want to forget to reach out to everybody, but I'm happy to make some notes here that to inform our future discussions if
The
people.
Bylaw Review Committee is disbanded.
Yeah, I was wondering what I wrote that. I said no longer in existence, still on website. That was more a note for me of like, why are some of these still on the website that are no longer in existence? This has a council member on it. Sorry.
I can't imagine why we would put counselors on Jones Library or school committee.
Well, again, they're liaisons, so
Yeah, I
That's-
know, but
I actually think the school committee liaison part is called out somewhere specifically. I can't remember. Are there any other on here that
It
are
doesn't
not?
feel like the Residents Advisory Committee needs a liaison. They work directly with Paul.
they didn't want one last time anyway.
Yeah.
A Soul Brother working group is not active.
Okay.
And
Uh,
well, transportation advisory may be changing, but we'll see.
Valley Green Energy Working Group is also no longer active, right?
I have no idea.
Which one?
Valley Green Energy Working Group?
Yeah, I don't think so, because we went through the whole process and joined and.
Okay, so I will be reaching out to the chairs of these committees, as well as you all, and so just bear in mind, this is the number, and 15 of them last time said they would benefit, they believed they would benefit from a liaison. And I look forward to discussing the rules of procedure, when we think about liaisons especially.
Mhm.
So no action on that at this point. Getting back to other fun times. So I'm gonna jump for a second here, because that does bring me to the council rules of procedure. In your packet, you were not supposed to do anything with this for this meeting, so do not stress, because I know I put it in there today. But in your packet, I placed a Word document version of the rules of procedure. I will be sending this to the full council, but your homework, should you choose to accept it, is we are not going to be going through the rules of procedure line by line. That's not necessarily the best use of this committee's time. However, I ask that you take that Word document and go through it. And if you have changes you would like made, substantive changes, this isn't just isn't a kind of review for punctuation. This is a review for substantive changes. I ask that you make them either as a track change or that you have direct, exact language that you would like changed prepared for our next meeting. We will be talking through the rules of procedure, and depending on how many edits there are, that's going to kind of vary the length of the meeting, but I will ask that you go through the rules and take that Word document and redline it. And we'll go through and I'll ask kind of where those first edits are made. What I will likely do is ask you to send me directly, just me, not the committee, your marked up version, so that I can combine the files and we can look at everybody's edits in one go versus you having to read out and me trying to type live. Does that homework assignment make sense? Okay, I will be asking this of the entire council as well. Lynn? Oh, was that your question? Yeah, so I've got an email to the council prepped with that same cue. What I'm going to tell the council is that what GOL will consider are exact word changes, either tracked or if you write exact language. We're not going to be taking suggestions to re-look at XYZ. People should send us their thoughts in the form that they'd like to see adopted and considered. What I'm trying to avoid here is a broad, you should reconsider how we do XYZ without suggestions on specifically what to change it to. I think that in terms of best use of our time, if people don't agree with me on that, I'm happy to hear and have the discussion as a committee. I was just trying to think about how to protect this committee's time. And sometimes it's hard to interpret other people's wishes, so I'm asking people to send me exactly what they would like to see. Any thoughts on that? Again, I'm not the final say. This was just my approach that I wanted to get the committee's opinion on. All right. The Word documents in SharePoint, in the folder for today. So please, if you could take a look at that and, have your edits set. Our next meeting is gonna be May 13th. So we've got some time to review it and to get me your thoughts. I don't have an exact deadline for when to get me thoughts by, but, I will give you one when I email the council, same deadline for you. And then next on the docket is the town manager evaluation process. This is something we've alluded to before having to do, but we haven't dived, jumped into it yet. We will be jumping into it very soon. So starting in, my plan is starting in, I believe, June. We're gonna start talking about this process in earnest, if not May. GOL spent a lot of time last year looking at how we set goals for the town manager. The flip side, the other end, the other halfway point on that cycle is evaluating the town manager's performance based on those goals, right? So we have used the same process since the first iteration, roughly the same process since the first iteration of this council. And given how much time we spent on the process for setting those goals, we should really look at how we evaluate the town manager and whether or not it's the most efficient and effective system. There's been a lot of counselor feedback, and town manager feedback, that's been really helpful in terms of knowing that maybe there's a better way to go about this. Lynn, not to put you completely on the spot, but could you share with us, because you've been the council president overseeing the evaluation process, could you talk to us a little bit about how the process exists currently and what you feel are the benefits and challenges to it? And if you're not prepared, because I hadn't warned you about this, that's totally fine.
No, that's fine. So the process to date is that we establish goals. We do that by the first of each year. And then we ask the town manager to provide us with a self-evaluation. And then meantime, we take the goals, and there's 3 ways in which we reach out to the committee. We reach out to committees and committee chairs. We reach out to the public in general, and then we reach out to staff. And we refer them to the goals. And for the staff, we actually provide a format that we've been using. I inherited that format. We inherited that format. So it's not something we developed. So I think we should take a hard look at that. In terms of committees, we basically ask them to just send us Word feedback, and we do content analysis, if you will, to some extent on that. And then for the general public, the same thing. And that's it. We then, as a council, get all of that. We get the self-evaluation, we get individual feedback from staff, but compiled so that we can identify the staff. And we get the composite of residents and the composite of committees. Sometimes people sign them and sometimes they don't. And we then are asked to look at all of those pieces of input and write up our own. And the way that we have done the write-up has varied over the years. At one point, we actually were not just doing each goal, we were doing each sub-goal. And at that point, I think we had 97 rankings. So we stopped doing that a couple years ago. And now we do basically each goal, but we take into consideration the sub-goals. And the other, one of the things, besides mentioning that the fact that the staff thing really needs to be looked at, we don't get a strong response for any of these. If we get 25 for staff, that's a lot. And there's a lot more staff than that. Community response, I'd have to go back and look, might get 10 or 11 if in a big year. And the same thing is true for committees. So none of the things that we get are considered a defendable sample. And that's important to for counselors to remember as they're writing things up. And we do have, occasions when something's a hot issue or there's negotiations going on or something, we'll tend to get more from that department. And so it becomes even more skewed in terms of the response that we get back. The responsibility of the president, or I suppose somebody could be designated, is to then write up a composite of all of the feedback you get from counselors. Now, the way I've done it in the past, since the counselor documents are public, not only do I do a composite of all the feedback and I come up with a scoring system, but I also, and then I rate the composite. So we make the composite available to the public and to counselors. And this, and you will, if you will, the total summary that I write. And then people provide feedback both in the meeting and then after the meeting. And I go back and do one more round of trying to, create better balance, or if I missed a theme or something like that. It is an extremely time-consuming process. Just to read all 13 and then do all of that, as and you have to do your own as well. So one of the things we started to do a couple of years ago was look at what other towns do. And this year, because we now are down to 6 goals, 3 policy and 3 administration goals, people will they'll go back and forth. They'll say, well, gee, I think on this part of the goal, somebody did well, or I think he did well, and on this one, not as well. So it's going to be an interesting way to do that. I think that's about all I have to say about it for now. I know that counselors also find it somewhat tedious to write them. And some counselors are really impressed and take into consideration what the public might send us or a staff may send us, and lose sight a little bit of the fact that it's not a sample. So that's my feedback for the moment.
Thank you. Yes, so a couple things that Lynn mentioned. First, we did start to look at other communities. There are 7 other communities across Massachusetts that have the same council manager form of government. I know Athena knows the number, but so correct me if it's not 7, but there are several others across Massachusetts, and we looked at their evaluation processes for their town manager. I'm happy to send out that list and include it in the packet for our next meeting if folks would like to reference it and kind of study up on those. I think that one of the biggest reasons Lynn, in her recap, which was really helpful, covered one of the biggest reasons I think we need to rethink the evaluation process, which is that we've redesigned, we cut back on the number of sub goals. We could have cut further, but we cut back on the number of sub goals significantly. And they are all, most of them are truly actionable and clearly either complete in process or not started. And so I think that with the focus that we've put on having actionable goals or actionable, we called them actions, so I'm saying the word a lot, in the town manager goals, we could go to a point where we're actually looking at each of those action items and ranking whether they are complete or not. The issue in the past has been we kind of always end up somewhere in the middle because some of the action items are complete, some of them it's not clear what completion looks like, and some of them aren't complete, so we sort of end up with this average. So I'd like us to really think about what makes sense in terms of how to review the performance of the town manager in the context of those goals, now that we've got goals that are a bit more functional going forward. Your homework here will be to, I will put the most recent town manager evaluation in the folder. I will put a copy of the goals in the folder, and I will include the list of other towns to look at in the folder as well. Study is your homework, and come forward with ideas. If you are so inclined, I found some really interesting, I'm not gonna put this in the folder, but like I did, just because I got excited about it. I did find some very interesting academic articles on best practices for evaluation of government officials, and including town managers. So there is a lot of actual research out there if you want to dig in. Now is your chance. If you would like to nerd out over that as well, you're welcome to.
Yeah, put those links in too.
You want them? You want my nerdy links? All right.
Yes.
Okay,
I don't
but
know whether
this-
I'll get to all of them, but I think they're worth looking at.
Optional reading, I will say, okay? All right, Counselor Ette, were you gonna ask for my nerdy readings too?
I was gonna say, bring it on.
All right, oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, I'm writing down what I have to include because otherwise I'm gonna forget. So I'm going to include last year's eval, this year's goals, Anna's nerd readings on best practices, and list of other towns with evaluation processes. And my caveat with the other towns is that I'm not necessarily recommending those, right? This is truly just here's what else is out there. Do with that what you will. Okay, all right, for next packet. Okay, love this attitude. I don't know if it's a sunny day or if you all are always down with nerdy academic readings, but all right, so we're going back up on our agenda to our 2 committee vacancies. I do not believe, well, let me ask. You all receive CAFs as they come in. Let's start with charter review. Would anyone like to find the pool sufficient for the charter review committee based on the CAFs that we have received thus far for that committee? Okay, I believe I'm trying to look through quickly because I believe it's been 1. Okay. For finance. Looking again, sorry. Athena, you didn't send me a thing, did you? Did I miss maybe? I can't remember if we even talked about you doing it, so that's not on you at all. All right. Okay, so, oh, found it, all right. So for finance committee, I believe we have 1, that was 1 current CAF or 2 vacancies. If someone would like to find that pool sufficient. All right, well, because the pool has yet to be found sufficient, we will not move forward. However, there are other pieces of the process that can move forward. I will be emailing the council the interview questions to see if there's any counselor feedback on that. In the meantime, if you have a district newsletter, if you have any sort of, I don't know, if you hang flyers on bulletin boards around town and you want to make a flyer, if you've got any way to recruit folks to express interest or consider serving on finance committee or charter review, I would urge and encourage you to take advantage of those options to publicize these vacancies. We, especially for finance, charter review too, really, actually, these are 2 really, finance, I was going to say just because of the calendar, not because of any sort of value judgment on either committee, but both of these committees are doing incredibly important work, and they're both really interesting committees to be a part of. So I would urge you to reach out to folks that you know who might be interested, and encourage them to submit a community activity form for that body. Please know that this is, these are groups where you don't need to be an expert, right? These are all resident committee groups. This is a great place to learn. Both of these committees will teach you a whole lot about our town and how it functions. So I hope you'll encourage people to put their name in the ring for those committee spots. Any questions on that? Okay. Last item, is second to last item, is the Jewish American Heritage Month proclamation. And I will pull that up for us to discuss. Hang on one moment, please. Anyone have a highlight of their day to send me? Tell me about while I pull this up? No highlights? All right, fine.
When I was looking at it, this is very minor, but we usually space in between each whereas.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, when I read it, they were all together. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. That is the correct. All right. So, Lynn.
I have to unmute. Pam Rooney has asked to be a sponsor as well, and I also would like to be a sponsor. I want to just also point out there is no event this year.
Thank you. Counselor Ate?
I think I may have been a sponsor last year, so I'd like to be one again this year.
All right. Okay.
The other piece, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Lynn.
The other piece I'd point out is that I think it's identical to last year. We need to change the title because we've changed how we do that, except for the very end where they cite some research and they updated that.
All right. Thank you. I'm just gonna.
That doesn't mean we don't have to give it a scrub, but
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just making sure I get the title and the way we do it now. Okay. So the way we've been doing it is we say town Amherst proclamation to recognizing is it May? When is it? May. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I'm just gonna add a space here to make it pretty. I'll fix that spacing so it's not awkward. Okay. First whereas, here we go. Second whereas. If I'm going too fast, just tell me, that's fine. It's a little weird that we quote ourselves.
No, it's actually the national
Or this
proclamation.
proclamation. Okay.
Yeah.
We say the national proclamation because
Yeah, I think we should.
okay.
And in that case, is national capitalized? I think so.
I thought it was, but I looked to Pat and Counselor Ate.
Yes, it would be capitalized.
Thank you. I knew one of you would know this. Okay. And shouldn't it just say reads, comma, quote? Oh, Pat, did you have something else? Sorry.
No, I was doing that to Counselor Ette. But he didn't.
I think it does just reads comma and get rid of the word that.
And you thought that we would be able to just let this go through easy.
No, I have never seen us take a word for word proclamation and not give it another scrub.
We are something, that's for sure. Okay. Well, we can't really change the quote, so that's, okay.
No.
Next, whereas. Okay. Next, whereas as we celebrate. Is, a nation is not capitalized, right? Okay. Can this say people of all faiths? Or those of all faiths?
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's not aligned, right? It's people and then it's faiths.
I think it would be with people of all.
And then there's just a tense alignment here. Oh, wait, no. To work for and play, okay. I'll let it go.
Should, in the next one, I'm sorry,
No, that's okay, go ahead.
should we just, where it says Jewish Community of Amherst, should we just put in parentheses JCA instead of the JCA?
Counselor Ette, you have thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a good suggestion.
Counselor Ette, what were your thoughts?
University of Massachusetts at Amherst.
It should just be University of Massachusetts Amherst. right?
Amherst, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, whereas. I keep saying whereas as if that is like a new statement. Whereas the Yiddish Book Center. Counselor Ette?
Studies, including Holocaust and
Yeah,
capitalized.
that's duplicate.
Yeah, it's the name of the program. Is that what did I get it right? No, I didn't.
Yes, I'm thinking because if, let's suppose it is Holocaust studies, that's still capitalized. Genocide studies would still be capitalized. So
Yes. Thank you. Okay, whereas the Yiddish Book Center. Would it be the Yiddish language or just?
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas Amherst is a part of.
At the end, where after April should not be a comma.
Um,
No, I'm way at the end.
Okay, and I don't think we typically do period at the end. Let me check. I was just checking one quick thing. Okay,
That, where is the reference for that? Is it down below? Yes, it is. Okay.
and I'm gonna
Was
make,
it updated?
that's what I'm just looking, that's what I was just looking now, yeah.
Thank you.
No problem, just give me 1 second to.
I went on to look at it and I couldn't find anything about 2024, so.
That's what I was checking too. It looks like
Yeah.
they're behind. Okay,
And I think the word source needs to have the type style changed.
it does. I actually don't think we need the word source. I think it's just a link, just a hyperlink to the,
Yeah, I do too. That's fine.
but yes, yeah, I think you're right. Okay, and I just want to confirm, let's see. All right, that website's so upsetting. All right. Anything in this last one? I think there's a comma after we. Is there?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. All right, sorry, I'm trying to find the actual. That's here, all right. We, Amherst Council. Or 8, what did they say? I'm seeing different numbers. Oh, that's why, 5 years.
I went through it
You did it.
because there's a reference to 63%
Yeah,
in the article, but if you take the percentage of 1,832 out of 2,699 incidents, then it is 67.8%.
thank you very much. I was trying to do math.
Yeah.
at the meeting, which was not my best plan. Okay, great. Voted this blank day of April 2025, and then we've got the signature. This is typically aligned on this side. And then we're gonna do there. Oopsies. Okay, is there a motion to find the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing May 2025 as Jewish American Heritage Month clear, consistent, and actionable? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second?
Second, DeAngelis. Haha.
Oh my God.
Punchy today. All
You
right.
gotta be unmuted before you, if you wanna beat me, honey.
Well done. I will accept these changes and send that to Athena and Lynn for honor.
Yeah, that goes on the agenda on Monday,
Great, thank you.
on the weekend. Joke. It was a joke.
On a Saturday. All right. Okay, folks, so that's just about all she wrote. So one more thing that we need to do. We have a series of minutes that are going to be coming your way for approval. And instead of having all of us read all of the minutes, we Athena and I talked about possibly authorizing some folks to approve those minutes. There's a slight fun fact here, which is that these authorizations do not expire. So one among us is currently authorized already to review and approve minutes. And that would be, any guesses, drum roll, please, Pat DeAngelis.
I will
But
not
that's
accept-
only, no, hang on. Yeah, I'm not obligating you to do it. but
Yeah,
you
no,
are.
I'm gonna be away, so I,
It's fine. Okay, but it was only for, those were only for 2023. Is that right, Athena? So we will need some folks to be authorized to review minutes. Athena and I talked about possibly breaking this up. So having one person do 2023, and then one or two people do 2024 and chunking it so that we're not doing a ton. Or one person can just say, I'm just gonna run through it.
how many of them are there?
That's a great question. Athena, could you remind me how many there are for 2023 and 2024?
I think there are 8 more for 2023, Pat, and then 12-ish for 2024 that need to be reviewed.
If somebody will take on, when do you need them? Looked at, when do you need the approval?
We're already in the out of compliance zone, so I think what I'd like to suggest is that we post the drafts in a packet, but if the committee decides to authorize somebody to review and approve on behalf of the committee, then as soon as those are reviewed, then I can post them as approved.
Can I ask a question? Because one of the things I learned was that even if you don't attend a meeting, so I wasn't here last week and suppose the minutes for last week were being approved tonight, I can vote to approve. So even though I wasn't there, I don't have to abstain, I don't have to, So here's what I'm wondering, can the committee simply approve the minutes as written for 2023 and 2024?
We still
Or
have to.
do we really need, to go through reviewing every set of minutes? And then, and figuring out a way, we need to keep going so this doesn't happen again. But
So I have a note taker who's assigned GOL, and that's how I'm able to catch up on these.
I know.
I don't anticipate getting this far behind again.
Oh, and it wasn't a reference even to you. I mean, because, it really isn't. So what I'm trying to do is, can we just simply approve all these minutes?
I don't think we can approve them without having seen them. I believe that the review is part of the agreed upon.
Okay.
I think if you wanted to designate me to review and approve them,
No.
then I would do that. But
I don't think we can.
I
Even if we could, I wouldn't want to put that on you. You have too much to do as it is. That would be.
yeah, I think
I'll work on the
I suggested
2023.
to Anna that the committee designate a member to do this because it's less cumbersome than
Okay.
everybody going through the minutes and then putting them on agendas for approval and so on. But that's
I'll
still
do-
an option. If you prefer
Right.
that, that's still an
I'll
option.
do 2023, but I won't, I'm leaving on Thursday and I'm not going to be home again until Wednesday, so the following Wednesday. So it'll probably be after that because I really need a break, but I will do those.
Are you sure, Pat?
Well, if there's somebody else who wants to do it, I will say, okay, I would love that, but let me
And
put a light on.
Pat is already authorized to approve 2023 minutes, so.
Yeah, so I can
Need
just
to
go
vote.
ahead and do that.
Counselor Lord has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna go to Counselor Lord, but before that, I just want to ask one clarifying question, Athena. What does this mean? The person reads them and then emails you saying, I approve these?
So I can put them in a shared folder and then either they can email me saying I looked through them and made edits and they're all set, or make edits in the draft in the shared folder and then just mark them approved and let me know when they're done or whatever.
Thank you. Counselor Lord?
Yes, I was just gonna volunteer to do a chunk, whether we're going into 2024, 23. Happy to watch the videos and review the notes, and then that helps me understand more about GOL and town council.
Highlight, you're welcome to always do that, but I don't think you have to even watch the videos of those meetings. I think you're looking at the minutes just to see, our note takers are fabulous and wonderful, and I'm sure they wouldn't do this, but if someone wrote in the middle, like the Loch Ness Monster popped up, then you might flag it as like this may not have happened. But you're
Okay,
don't have to watch the full meetings. Athena, if I'm misunderstanding that, please correct me. What if Hala, if you take, so if Pat, there are so roughly 20 sets of minutes. Pat, if you're able to do the 8 from 2023,
I can do that. I'll do it.
Hala, can you take the first 6 of 2024? So whatever the first 6 dates are. If we authorize to approve 2024, Athena, and Hala agrees to do the first dated 6 and I do the rest, does that?
I'm just looking at, it appears there's 18 from 2024, so you could do 9 and 9.
9 and 9? Okay.
Great.
Hala, does that work for you if you do the first, like, whatever the first 9 dates are? Calendar year?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
And I can do
Thank
the
you.
second
No,
9.
Dana, will you remind me where these are? I'm like really blanking.
Yes, I'll send you and Nana and Hala a link to the
Thank you
OneDrive.
very
folder.
much. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank
So
you.
then we as a committee need to make a motion to authorize Counselor Lord and Anna Devlin Gothier to approve minutes from for GOL from 2024. Is there a motion?
I graciously and with great thanks make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
Counselor Ate.
second.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just writing it down because I gotta do my stupid report and I can't submit sticky notes as a report. From what I've never tried it, to be fair, but I don't think it would go well. Okay. Technically, it could follow the rules, Athena, if I have the record of the vote and, okay. I'm gonna scan you some sticky notes. Let's call the vote. Counselor Ete. You're voting to authorize Hala and I, sorry.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. I am an aye. Pat DeAngelis.
Aye.
Lynn Griesmer.
Aye.
Counselor Lord.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you very much, Pat and Counselor Lord. We will get these back to you, Athena, as soon as possible. Excellent, great, wonderful things. Okay. Upcoming agenda. I'm not skipping the citation for the Amherst Regional High School girls track team. George has yet to murder me on this, and I'm grateful to him for that. But I have yet to get in my last edits, and I really, really, really thought I could do it last week, and I really, really, really couldn't. So we hopefully will get that done soon.
There's really not any murder and mayhem in the council, please.
It would happen outside of the council,
Ah.
maybe. I bring him stress balls when we go to council so that he doesn't murder me. Okay. So upcoming agenda items. Briefly, just to review what's coming down the pike for us. We already talked about the kind of more nuts and bolts things of GOL. So we talked about the rules of procedure, talked about the town manager evaluation process. At some point, I would love for GOL to talk about the policy for multiple member body appointments, but we're gonna get through the other things first. And then we will have in May, I'm just gonna look ahead to May. I'm not sure exactly which meeting they'll fall in, but we've got 2 meetings in May, the 13th and the 27th. At some point in May, we should likely receive the water and sewer rates. This is, GOL is just looking for clarity, consistency, and actionability. This is not, GOL does not set those rates. And these have gone through, I'm gonna say these have gone through the ringer multiple times. And this committee is extremely skilled at finding things that we want to make clearer, more consistent, or more actionable. So I'm sure we'll find something. And then the other really exciting thing that should be coming to us in May is the public urination bylaw. Thrilled for this one as well. And I want to make an April showers, Mayflowers joke, but I'm gonna not totally go
Thank
there.
you.
You're welcome. So that will be, if we receive it, that will be to us in May as well. Can you remind me, is that currently in a committee? It's currently in a committee, right?
Yes, it's in TSO.
TSO, thank you.
And another quick one, TSO also has the Transportation and Parking Commission. So the charge will have to come to GOL when TSO is done with it. And they're also going to recommend changes to the council policy on control and use of the public ways. So GOL will see both of those before they come to council.
Great. Do you,
Yeah,
are they,
also in May, we need to do the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer proclamation, but also there will be, Amherst will have its first gay pride on June 22nd. So we need to get, ourselves ready for that.
And we also have to approve race amity. I have to get that one
Yeah.
done.
Right.
excellent. We've got some really great things. Yeah, and because I don't want to add to the list of counselors who are going to murder me, Pat, I will get you edits for the Pride Month proclamation soon.
Thanks.
I gotta tell you, Anna, geez,
I
I'm
know,
really concerned for you. Shall we send a bodyguard?
either a bodyguard or like a personal assistant, one or the other. Okay, I think that anything else that folks, that was a really helpful little brainstorm of what's coming up. Is there anything else that folks think is coming up that I'm missing here? Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. That will do it for our items. Do I have a motion to, I already lost my.
I
word.
move to adjourn.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. You moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
Oh my God, Pat's sitting there praying.
Second.
You two are too much.
You gotta get the giggles somehow. Because otherwise.
Anna, second it, please.
Ete,
No,
Counselor,
Counselor Ette seconded, Ms.
on my
Greason.
sticky note. Therefore, it is written. I'm going to call the vote. Counselor Lord, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Pat?
Aye, thank God.
I am so glad that you feel that. I am an aye as well. Lynn
Aye.
and Counselor Ete.
Aye.
Thank you all so much. Athena, thank you for being here and all your help. I will
Great.
see you all in May 13th. Well, I'll see you at council, but
Right.
Jill,
I may not, Lynn, for half a second, I may not be, I don't want to be at the meeting
sorry.
while I'm on vacation.